Hello YouTube. Welcome back from my stoep. It rained the whole morning and suddenly it's clearing up and becoming very humid and hot, but that's awesome. I'm sitting here in my garden. So yeah, I owe an answer to the last video. Grandpa requested why bad things happen, like natural disasters, to people who might not have made bad life choices. So it's a question that probably all people all around the world in all ages have asked, and a difficult one to answer. And I will try to give you my opinion on it. But to a certain extent, I must put a disclaimer right here in the beginning. And the disclaimer is that I don't know. I don't have all the answers, and I kind of like it like that. I do not want to have all the answers because there's a certain mystery around God that we humans actually cannot and should not be able to understand. After all, if I can explain God to you fully, is he still my God? How can we as created fully explain the Creator? So yeah, certain things we just don't know. I read this morning in Isaiah 40. I read, "The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom." And in verse 25, "To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these?" So yeah, in all fairness, we try to give an answer to make it more understandable to us, but we must also, at least myself, reminds myself that often that I do not have all the answers, and sometimes I just don't know. So C.S. Lewis wrote and said that suffering, he said that while his wife was dying with cancer, he said that suffering is often God's megaphone to the world. So he whispers to us in our pleasures, he wrote, and I think he speaks in our conscience, but he megaphones us through pain and disaster. Yeah, so that's true words, and we also need to remind ourselves that sometimes not everything of the creation is bad, or disaster. I mean, not everything of a disaster is bad. Compare it with an operation or a dentist or something. No one wants to do that, and no one likes it, but it often is there to prevent something else, which is a bigger disaster. So there's one kind of viewpoint to realize that not all disasters are intrinsically bad. They might be bad for us at that time, but there are certain good things that come about from disasters. Secondly, disasters are natural. They're kind of natural. If it's the normal ebb and flow of the creation. Richard Dawkins wrote and said, some will get lucky, and some will be or in a universe of blind physical forces, some will be lucky and some will be caught unlucky. and some will get hurt, and there's no injustice. So that's what Richard Dawkins said in terms of disasters. So from that we can then deduct and ask a kind of and follow a question by saying, if God does not exist, then it's not a disaster. Then it's all natural. Then there are no disasters because He doesn't exist. And then the next question that follows that will be, why do you cry against the injustice of natural disasters if you don't believe that there is a God, and if it's just simply the way the world is? And then secondly, why, I think I mentioned in my previous video, whenever there's a notion of good and bad, it presupposes that there's some moral base that we start thinking about. But a lot of people reject any moral base other than the subjective one. So in a certain sense, to atheists, why do you ask the question if you don't even believe in it? But I don't want to attack atheists. Definitely not. This channel is all about opening up discussions and talk about things, and I appreciate even the atheists' comments on the previous video. So to me, God is an inclusive God, not an exclusive God. So to me, let's all talk together and try and find answers to these things. But let me get back to my viewpoint on this. As I said, natural disasters are not intrinsically bad. Sometimes natural disasters are there to sustain and create life. For example, tectonic plates, I understand they do release some nutrients and what do you call that? Volcanic eruptions releases some minerals into the soil. Flooding cleans out rivers, fires. So not all of them are intrinsically bad. Maybe the reason we are affected so much is because it attacks our comfort zone, and we don't like that. But just as a side thought, just think about poor countries where the infrastructure is not that good. Just think about how much it affects them, but that's another thing. So number one, it is kind of part of ebb and flow, natural thing, way the creation works, and it's not necessarily bad or intrinsically bad. It's bad because of our life. Secondly, we also need to note that industrial development and carbon emissions and all those things have definitely played a role in changing weather patterns and the ice cap that melts and all that thing. So yes, some of our choices did affect the nature or the creation, which then causes natural disasters. So in a certain sense, we can then understand where or why there are natural disasters. What we don't understand is why God allows them to occur. Sometimes it is His megaphone to call our attention. Sometimes it's just part of the creation and the sustaining of life, as I said earlier. So that's the question: is why does God allow it to be? I want to ask another question: why do we always want God to intercept and prevent things to happen? Just for my comfort? After all, shouldn't we agree that the sovereignty of God is sovereign? That's that. And then thirdly, so the first point is not intrinsically bad, normal, natural ebb and flow. Secondly, industrial development might have played a role bigger than we thought in terms of changing weather patterns. Thirdly, the creation was also subjected to the fall, not only mankind. Paul wrote in the letter to the Romans in Romans 8 that the creation also waits in anticipation and with great expectation to the second coming of Christ, or to the final restoration of this world. So the question is, why didn't God prevent it? Or could he prevented it? Absolutely, he could. Why didn't he? We don't know for sure, but sometimes he does. What we actually also know, or what we can think about, is, and that to me is kind of important, God did intervene. When Jesus Christ came into this world, he didn't only come to save me from hell. And unfortunately, that's the major focus of a lot of people in terms of the coming of Christ. Yes, that is of course important. Well, kind of, to me it's not important. There's a much bigger scheme than only my restoration or my saving. Go and look at Acts 1 verse 6 to 9, where the disciples also ask, are you now going to fix Israel? And then he kind of said to them, there's a much bigger story than fixing Israel. So Jesus came to this world to start the restoration process of God to this creation, meaning creation, nature, as well as people. He launched the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is not yet fully accomplished. That will be at the end of times, which we don't know when it will be. So we're living in this in-between times, the launching of the kingdom of God and this final coming where everything will be completed. And in this time, we are actually busy creating the kingdom of God as we go along. So God did intervene in a sense that he is busy restoring this creation. And sometimes restoring means also that there will be flooding and things. So to me, the kingdom of God is in process. Matthew 11 verse 12. This kingdom of God is like a snowball. It's running. Whether we in or out, it doesn't matter. It's running. It's going to completion. Jesus launched it, and this process is running. And after all, if you look at the life before Jesus Christ and where we are now, a lot of things changed to the good. So the typical complaint of if Jesus came to launch the kingdom of God, why is it still looking like this? Well, it looks much better than it looked way back when gladiators were killed for fun. So yeah, in a certain sense, God did intervene. Maybe not in the way that we thought he should have or would have, but he did intervene by sending Jesus Christ and by launching the kingdom of God, and this kingdom of God is in process of being established. But we've got a role to play in that. It's not happening without us, it's happening with us. So in closing, I don't know for sure. To me, natural ebb and flow of creation, not intrinsically bad, but other words, there can come good life out of it. Part of the fall of mankind. And part of our developmental choices. So above all, I would say, to me, although I don't like it, and although I have compassion to people who experience natural disasters, Um, I trust God. I mean, look at my own situation currently. Uh, I can't explain it to you. I don't like it. But I trust God's sovereignty. And I trust His love. And I trust His promises that everything will work out to the good. Romans 8, eventually. So, yeah. That's my view. If I haven't answered you sufficiently, I'm sorry. I don't have the final answer. But I hope at least I could give some pointers for us to think about. And maybe you can help me. But let me just say as closing also that I appreciate a lot the participation of everyone, whether you're Christian or not a Christian. I find it very, very satisfying. To engage also with non-Christians on these topics. And thank you for everyone who participates in such a respectful way. We respect each other's viewpoints without attacking each other. Well, actually, that's what this stands for, isn't it? We don't judge and reject. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. And I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.